Good day everyone, I am Mel Otinggey and these are my companions Mr. Raniel Mahunyag and Alvin Jun Adorable. So to begin with, may we have the philosophical question confronted by the excerpts. So it can be stated, why is it vital for philosophy to search for varying thoughts throughout the world?
And we will going to argue that philosophy should not only focus on one thought, but rather it should make an attempt to move across the boundaries of otherwise distinct philosophical traditions. Philosophers are therefore challenged not just to remain on one thought, but also to be involved in the process of engagement that involves multiple sides in order to gain understanding of multiple sides and enrich the understanding of philosophy and as well as of the self.
So proceeding with the supporting points, first, we can state that the practice of wisdom is to enable persons to see the middle grounds of every conflicting values. Gabriel Marshall, in his work Tragic Wisdom and Beyond, claimed that it is a waste of time and thought to part the philosopher and the common crowd from one another. Otherwise, the aim of philosophy, which is to create an environment open for thoughts, will fail.
For the supporting point 2, philosophizing does not only focus on one field or one philosophy, for a reason that there are other philosophies that exist outside Western philosophy. Through comparative philosophy, we are able to make an attempt to move across boundaries of otherwise distinct philosophical traditions. Through that engagement or dialogue, we gain understanding not just of himself but also the idea of the other side.
For the third support, Paul Masson Orcel, known as the pioneer of comparative philosophy, aims to bridge the gap between Eastern, Western, and thinking from other corners of the world. It can follow that that kind of philosophy being worked on is to set the discipline not in the limit of particular people, but is open for dialogue with the others.
For the objection to the first point, there are abuses in philosophy as an academic discipline, whereas the Western thinking is considered to be the exemplar and is useful in a course, as stated by Goto Jones 2013 in What is Comparative Philosophy.
So for the second objection, in comparative philosophy, there will always be the presence of prejudice or bias in which a philosopher will only focus on one side and neglect the other side. There is the strong tendency that man may embrace too much the philosophy that he had grown up to and become close-minded of those philosophies that are outside of what he had grown up.
For the objection in the third point, so there are problems encountered by systems of thought, like in the separation between faith and reason, thinking that these elements are no longer applicable to humans as long as they are able to understand.
So to answer those objections, first answer, thus it is a key point to treat philosophy as not a mere product of Western colonization, but as a part of growth as a human and being of reason. Philosophy is for and by the world in the sense that the environment provides data and it is left to the person for understanding the nature of things.
For the answer to the second objection, although it cannot be denied that there will always be a possibility of bias in comparative philosophy, it is just a possibility and not fixed. A philosopher must suspend this judgment and treat each side as equal. In addition, a philosopher should have a mastery of broad range of material and knowledge.
So for the third, last and best answer, one of the goals of comparative philosophy is not to set people apart from themselves and others. Instead, it is to search for the common ground, the structure which is agreeable by both parties.
So, in order to illustrate those answers, in the first answer, so the Indian story of Bhagavad Gita entails a person who faces a dilemma, which is to fight relatives for the sake of morality, or leave it behind, making evil raids This rhymes with the Western idea of utilitarianism, which is to find a greater good that can be enjoyed.
And proceeding to the second example, for instance, if a person belongs to the Western world and what he used to be as he grows up is a Western thought, for him to be able to make a comparative philosophy, he needs to suspend his judgment and treat those two sides as equal so that he may not remain on one side and be able also to know and study the other side.
So, to illustrate the third answer, values like morality and humanity exclude none, since these are principles being worked upon by people. Consider the situation of gratitude and consequences, and the law of karma and utang na loob. Both Western and Eastern, none of these fail to create a just and fair individual and society.
So let's proceed to the insights presented by Mr. Adorable.
So for the first insight, the Bhagavad Gita emphasizes fulfilling one's duty, even when it involves personal sacrifice, highlighting the importance of righteous action over uh, consequences. In contrast, Western utilitarianism focuses on maximizing the overall good by choosing actions that benefit the greatest number. Both explore moral dilemmas, but the Bhagavad Gita centers on spiritual duty, while the utilitarianism is concerned with practical outcomes. Okay, for the second insight, suspending judgment when comparing Western and Eastern philosophies like utilitarianism and the Bhagavad Gita teachings allows one to appreciate the unique wisdom each offers without bias. This approach fosters a deeper understanding of how different cultures address similar moral dilemmas, enriching one's own perspective. By treating both sides as equal, one can synthesize diverse ideas into a more holistic worldview, recognizing the strengths and limitations of each philosophy. Okay, so for the third insight, values like morality and humanity are universal, transcending cultural boundaries as seen in the parallels between the Eastern concept of karma and the Western idea of gratitude and consciousness. Both law of karma and the Filipino concept of utang na loob emphasizes emphasize reciprocal relations and ethical behavior, guiding individuals toward justice and fairness. These principles, though expressed differently across cultures, collectively contribute to the development of a just and moral society, highlighting the shared human pursuit of ethical living. So, in conclusion, in order to cultivate a richer and more comprehensive understanding of philosophy, it is vital to explore and engage with diverse philosophical traditions across the world. By suspending judgment and approaching each perspective with openness, philosophers can bridge cultural divides, uncover universal values, and create a more just and balanced understanding of ethical principles that transcend individual traditions. This comparative approach not only enriches the discipline of philosophy but also fosters a deeper connection between the self and the broader human experience. That will be all, and thank you.